Hello there, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. So a couple weeks ago, a little while ago, I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to post up this video, but a little while ago, I had done a review of several books related to witchy gardening, basically garden books that were written from the perspective of witchcraft and how to incorporate witchcraft and gardening together. And there was one book that I mentioned that I did not cover, and that, of course, is this book right here. So the time has finally come. We're going to talk about The Green Witch's Garden by Arin Murphy Hiscock. This is a book that just recently came out. It was, I think, December of 2021. It is published by Adams Media, which is a division of Simon & Schuster. Not an occult publisher. That's noteworthy, and we'll talk more about that towards the end. But I want to talk more specifically about the book itself. So my overall impression of this book, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not like super like, oh my gosh, this is the best book ever. I'm also not the target audience of this book. This book is a very, very basic introduction to witchcraft in gardening. So someone like me, like, there's not a single thing that I learned from this book because this is all stuff that I already knew. If you have never done any gardening, and if you're fairly new to witchcraft, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff in here that's going to be new for you and pique your interest. But yeah, if you're not a beginner, then there probably isn't going to be a whole lot of new stuff in here for you. She gives a very, very small amount of info on a very wide range of topics related to gardening. So, some of the things that she covers: why have a garden as a witch, setting goals for what you want out of your garden, choosing the plants for your garden, how to prepare the actual garden space, how to use magical techniques to care for your garden magically, you know, things to do with what you harvest out of your garden. Like, these are all fine topics to cover. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, there's a lot of information here, but it's a very broad, and anytime, of course, you make something broad, it's also going to be really shallow too. So there's a broad range of topics that are covered, but the actual information given there is just a kind of a little taste of each topic. So it's good for introducing these topics to someone who has never considered any of them before, but you're going to have to look elsewhere for deeper information, which is, again, it's fine. That's basically the goal of this book, so there's nothing wrong with that. There were some things in this book that I was not comfortable with. And I think some of them are probably due to the actual experience level of the author, which is another thing that I'll talk about in a minute. But specifically, one of the things that she recommends in preparing your garden is that if you don't have good garden soil, she recommends buying topsoil. No. I'm going to say just now, no. There's a reason why I don't recommend that practice, and that's because I've seen firsthand where that topsoil comes from. Topsoil is strip mined. It is a hugely environmentally destructive process. And yeah, like, I don't want to be a part of that process. If you need to enhance the soil of your garden, rather than buying topsoil, buy compost. A lot of municipal trash, you know, the disposal companies, any place that collects bagged yard waste, generally what they do with that bagged yard waste is they put it into a big municipal composting system, basically, and you can then buy the compost from them at a very reasonable price, and you know you're getting a decent quality product. Whereas the topsoil is literally a strip mine product. Anytime there's a development, like whether it be business or residential, they bring bulldozers in and they bulldoze off all of the topsoil, put it up in a big pile, and that's what ends up in your bags of topsoil that you buy at the hardware store, or in the trucks of topsoil that you buy from the landscaping companies. So I don't like topsoil. Like I said, there's a much more environmentally friendly way to enhance your soil, and it's compost. So that was one issue that I had, and that's probably just due to the authors just not knowing. So not rather than any, you know, maliciousness on her part. So Couple of small things. They were really, like, just really small things. Like, she gives a jam recipe, and she, basically says, like, this is a smaller jam recipe for making smaller quantities, but it's not a processed jam recipe, and she doesn't actually say that if it's not processed for safety, it really should be in the fridge. If you want to store your jam on a shelf, you really need to process the cans. So there's that. One of the plants that she recommends is invasive in a lot of parts of the country, night blooming jasmine. So I take an issue with that. But again, it's just more of that one is probably just, not being familiar with the fact that, some plants are invasive in some parts of the country, even if they're fine and well behaved in other parts. So there were other things that just kind of made me go, and kind of scratch my head about it. But, some of them are not necessarily things that are wrong. They're just things that I'm just like, I've never heard that before. Like mentioning ginger as a plant that's associated with the moon. I have never heard that before, and I'm not sure where that association came from. She misnamed a plant. There was another thing, Helichrysum petiolare. She calls it licorice. It's actually a licorice plant. And this is why common names are confusing, and it's really important to have Latin binomials. It's not licorice. Licorice plant is a completely different plant that just happens to smell vaguely like licorice in the leaves. But she calls it licorice, which is actually Glycyrrhiza glabra, different plant. So that one is just kind of like, okay, not quite, but close. A for effort. And then she has this thing about using planetary hours to determine what tasks you're going to do in the garden, which is a good idea in concept, but in actual practice, an hour, or even a planetary hour, which is during the summertime longer than an hour, not enough time. Not enough time to get a task done in the garden, in my personal experience. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, nice try, but I'm never actually going to use that, and I don't see where anyone would be able to do that effectively in practice. So, despite that, there were a lot of things I actually did like in this book. She does give a ritual for releasing any broken tools, because of course those tools are tied to your energy, and, helping to kind of ease the passing of that tool is really cool. That she put that in there. She gives information on connecting with the genius loci of your garden, which is A+. Highly recommend. I do it myself. So yes, definitely. She also has information on borrowing energy directly from the living plant rather than using physical components of the plant in your spell work, which A+ for that one too. I really like that she's finding ways to incorporate the plants in spell work without having to bring about the destruction or harm of the plant, because you don't always have to do that. You don't necessarily have to harm the plant when you're harvesting from it either, but, that's a subject for another time. But, anyway, all right. There are a couple things I need to talk about that really just kind of like put my antenna up as to like, this could be problematic. One is actually, I don't know if I'm the only person who does this, but in the acknowledgements page, I actually do read the acknowledgements, and I know it's kind of a goofy thing, but, but yeah, one of the lines here, let me read this to you, is, she basically gives credit to the support of 2 people in her life, and then says, they also shored up my confidence when I regularly wailed, I have a black thumb, why am I writing this? That makes me ask the question too, why did you write a book on gardening if you don't really have a lot of garden experience? It does explain why a lot of the information is very, very shallow. It's probably just information that was gleaned through research rather than actual physical hands-on experience. So yeah, I think that it's important that we view this book through that lens, that this is someone who is writing about gardening that doesn't really seem to have a lot of personal garden experience, but rather has sort of passively absorbed it through others in her life. So that's worth noting. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear this in the background. My cat is playing in a paper bag, so love the cats. Okay, Another thing, and really the other thing that I feel is worth noting, the publisher itself. Adams Media, Simon & Schuster. You can see their little logo right here on the spine under the library sticker where I borrowed the book. They are not an occult publisher. They are a subsidiary of a very big general audience publisher. What that means is that the information that you're seeing here is going to be very specifically tailored to appeal to as broad of an audience as possible. You're not going to have anything that's questionable or weird or offensive in any way, which means that a lot of the, how do I phrase this? A lot of the really meatier practices are not going to be covered here because the publisher would not allow that to be published, because that's not going to be appealing to a wider audience. So, yes, that's part of the reason why this book is so just generally broad and vague, is because you're not going to get a lot of the deep practices, because they're not interested in publishing the deep practices. This is not an occult publisher. So, worth considering. So, anyway, yeah. If you're looking for something to get absolutely started from nothing, this is better than most. This is better than all the other books, except for Harold Roth's, of course. I love that book so much. But yes, if you have no garden experience and you're a witch and you're looking to incorporate garden work into your practice, this is as good a place as any to start. You know, I'm not gonna deride it from that, because it is a very, very good at what it does, which is give a little taste of everything to someone who has no experience in anything. So yes, if you are absolutely bare bones getting started, you don't know where to go or what to do, you may as well start with this one. You can get it at the library, of course. At least most libraries, you know, mine seem to have it, so it wouldn't surprise me if others did as well. But yeah, if you have a modest amount of experience in the garden, you might find a few things in here that might help, but you're probably going to find a lot of repetitious info that you already know. If, like me, you've been doing this for years and you've kind of developed your own system, you're probably not going to find anything of any real value in here. So, and my camera cut off right at the end. So, but anyway, I'm just going to summarize. If you are an absolute bare bones beginner, you can't do, you know, this is as good as any place to start. So if you have no experience with gardening, sure, why not? Go ahead, check this book out. If you are experienced, you probably can pass, because there's probably not going to be anything here that is going to be new to you. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.